Across the ancient world, civilizations rose and fell, yet some crops quietly powered communities through the harshest soils and driest seasons. Among these, one stands out for its resilience and regenerative power. A crop so remarkable that it not only fed entire populations, but left the earth richer with each harvest. This is a story of survival, ingenuity and sustainable agriculture that stretches back over 4,000 years. Understanding this crop today can transform not just our gardens, but our approach to soil, revival and regenerative practices. The secret of ancient soil resilience was hidden in plain sight. When historians dig into the agricultural practices of ancient civilizations, from Mesopotamia to Egypt, they find a common thread: nitrogen-fixing plants that thrived in poor, depleted soils. These crops were not heavy feeders like modern maize or wheat. They could survive on minimal nutrients while quietly rebuilding fertility. Legumes, particularly lentils and fava beans, were often the backbone of ancient diets. Their ability to harbour nitrogen-fixing bacteria in root nodules transformed barren ground into living, productive soil over decades of repeated planting. Unlike modern monocultures that strip nutrients season after season, these crops worked symbiotically with the soil. They absorbed carbon from the atmosphere, hosted beneficial microbes, and returned essential minerals to the earth. When planted strategically, they not only fed people, but acted as a natural fertilizer for subsequent crops. Their legacy can still be seen in archaeological sites, where layers of ancient fields show soil richer than surrounding uncultivated land. How the crop improved the soil every season. The mechanism is both simple and elegant. As legumes grow, they form nodules on their roots, where rhizobium bacteria live. These bacteria capture atmospheric nitrogen and convert it into forms the plant, and eventually the soil, can use. When the plant's residues decompose, nitrogen is released into the soil, enriching it for the next planting. In other words, each harvest leaves a gift behind, a natural fertilizer embedded in the soil matrix. Ancient farmers understood this intuitively. They often rotated legume crops with grains, allowing 1 year of nitrogen enrichment to support the next year of heavy-feeding cereals. Fields that might have produced barely enough food after 2 or 3 seasons suddenly became fertile, sustaining populations for centuries. This is why civilizations in regions with poor sandy or clay-heavy soils could survive and even thrive for millennia. Why this knowledge matters for modern gardeners and survivalists. Even today, many gardeners struggle with depleted soil, especially in areas with poor natural fertility or after repeated cropping. The principle that ancient farmers used can be applied directly in modern raised beds, community gardens, and survival food plots. Planting legumes, either as a main crop or as a cover crop, can restore nitrogen levels without relying on chemical fertilizers. For example, a bed planted with fava beans over winter can provide rich green matter and nitrogen to be released when spring vegetables are added. Lentils or chickpeas sown in rotation during the growing season have the same effect, slowly rebuilding humus and microbial networks. Practical application is straightforward. In a 4-foot-wide bed, interplant legumes with any depleted vegetables or dedicate a section to a nitrogen-restoring crop. Add mulch or straw around the roots to retain moisture and accelerate decomposition. Over 2 or 3 seasons, soil texture improves, water retention increases, and nutrient levels rise naturally. This mirrors the ancient system, but adapts it to modern backyard scales. So let's talk about how ancient planting strategies really optimize soil restoration. Ancient farmers, they didn't just plant legumes randomly. They observed patterns of sun, shade and water flow, placing crops where they would, maximize fertility without overtaxing the soil. In those floodplains, crops were rotated to avoid erosion while also taking advantage of seasonal nutrient deposition. And on hillsides or, say, poor clay soils, legumes were combined with companion crops that improved aeration or helped reduce pest pressure. Modern gardeners, honestly, can take a similar approach by mapping out their beds according to nutrient needs. You might plant legumes in sections that need recovery, intersperse them with shallow-rooted plants to prevent compaction, and always leave residues in place. When it comes time to harvest, roots and stems can be chopped and folded right back into the soil rather than removed, making sure that the nitrogen captured during growth stays exactly where it's most needed. Now, the broader ecological benefits of this ancient system are really something. Beyond the immediate boost to fertility, legumes and similar regenerative crops actually support soil biodiversity. Their root exudates feed fungi, bacteria and invertebrates, forming a living soil web that supports future crops. This system reduces erosion, improves water infiltration, and increases resilience to drought. And the crops themselves often provide extra food, so there's this lovely dual benefit: nourishment for people and enrichment for the earth. For survivalists and permaculture enthusiasts, this knowledge is, truly invaluable. It means that even on marginal land, a properly managed rotation can sustain production for decades. It also demonstrates that intensive chemical inputs are not required to maintain soil health, echoing the sustainable practices of ancient civilizations. Lessons from history that, still work today. The 4,000-year legacy of these crops teaches a simple but powerful lesson. Fertility is not a commodity. It is a cycle. By choosing the right plants, observing their interactions with soil, and leaving residues in place, gardeners can emulate systems that fed humanity for millennia. This is not just history. It is actionable science. Every backyard bed, community plot, or small-scale survival garden can benefit from the same principles. Rotate legumes with heavy feeders, leave roots and stems to decompose, and focus on building living soil rather than relying solely on external inputs. Over time, even the poorest soils become fertile, productive, and resilient. Just a closing reminder. The crops of ancient civilizations were more than food. They were instruments of regeneration. Their secret was simple: feed the soil as you feed yourself, and the ground will repay you season after season. Apply these lessons in your own garden, and you can transform depleted soil into living, fertile beds capable of supporting generations of growth. If this exploration of ancient soil wisdom inspired you, share it with others who value history and practical survival skills. And do make sure to subscribe to Echoes of Valor for more insights into the strategies that shaped civilizations and can still transform gardens today.